Hi, my name is Karen Holmes. I'm the founder and director of the World Peace Organization for the One World Government. I'm the principal of the organization. If you have read my letter to the Supreme Court, which can be found on the organization website in the reference menu section, there are PDFs of the letter to the Supreme Court, and it explains that there's always three levels in the universe: the principles, the power, and the project. And today I wanted to talk about these three different ideas about the three levels. My organization has three levels, just like every other one. And the reason I'm bringing it up now is because I've been going through and doing a book. I started a book on the plan. I also started two other books and about my PhD thesis for the organization, and also a cookbook, which is where it all started, and I'll talk about each of those in different videos. I am the principal of the organization, which means I set the principles. I peg our organization on a particular level by the principles I stand on. The letter to the Supreme Court introduces universal law as the principal level of the legal system. And then if you only have the two other ones, like in a legal system, if you only have the power and the project, if you have federal law or constitutional law as the power level, which grants use of power and abuse of power, basically that's where, by taking the oath of office, our elected officials get their power. And then the third one is the project level, which has to be a combination of the principles and the power. And then those projects benefit everyone. So that's where we are right now, is looking at this idea. We have what is happening now, you could say, regarding the coming year. That's what I'm doing, is working on the planning for the coming year, the writing books and concentrating on this idea of pegging where we are. And then in the organization, the boards will be the application of that. They will take what I set up, and they will carry the idea forward, and then the combination of the two will be what our projects are based on. So we're looking at projects, we're looking at all the different things for the coming year. Well, you're not part of the organization. Chances are you're not. And so, but what you are doing is you're looking at the coming year and what this year holds in terms of the 2022 elections, midterm elections. So let's kind of think about what it is from the standpoint of what your year will be like if you set the principles and then the application of the principles and then the project idea. If you have a legal system, you have universal law sets the principles, the application of the principles is constitutional law, and then bringing both together, you have legislation that is going to solve problems and do what's in everyone's best interest, and the benefits keep on going out from that. So I have government proposals, I have project ideas, but you have the coming midterm elections and how you are going to vote. Who is going to be the candidate that you support? Candidates, because it's on every level. Okay, is the people are worried about the voting rights amendments and the legislation that's coming out. How is that going to play out? So basically, we live in a democracy, and the United States is a democracy. And basically, the power in any government is always derived from the people. So where we are as a country depends on how the people demand it from their government. Okay, so now let's step back for a minute and talk about what happens if in a government you don't stand, there's no principles, it's just the power and the application of the power, which is like laws or edicts or demands or whatever, depending on the type of government. What happens if there are no principles that it stands on? It's just on, or a dictatorship that is just, or a monarchy where you have the power, and they think that it's derived from their personage, or if it's a dictator, how much power they have in terms of how whether it's a coup. We're talking about a coup right now. Where is the power coming from? And then the application of that is how people respond to that. Is it going to be a civil war? They're talking about a civil war. How about any kind of foreign policy decisions right now? We're talking about the principles, the power, and the project. Okay, so if we have the principles of fair and equal elections, where everybody's equal and there are no laws, one of the principles is that creates a sense of balance is equality. There's 7 principles. There's equality, liberty, freedom, compassion, abundance, capacity, and tolerance. So if you stand on all 7 principles, if my organization stands on all 7 principles, then the application of the principles is to take those principles to the higher level from the board's own perspective, or they can ignore the principles. If they ignore the principles, then it goes down. If they go down into power games, then it's immediate down. So there's always, as I've said before, there's always 3 choices. There's always 3 options, and up, down, or straight ahead. Up is to do what's in everyone's best interest. Straight ahead, it goes down eventually because you're coming up with plans that don't address the root cause of the problem. And down is to go down into power games like revenge. So, as you are an informed voter, who are you going to vote for? In a high school election or junior high school, whatever your school was called at that time, people would vote for the most popular person. Okay, was that a thing that was good to do? Did those popular people that you voted for and supported, were those of the people that actually were the people who were going to solve problems for you? Now, the school board or the junior council or whatever they are called in your school really doesn't have a lot of power, but it's an idea of leadership. It's learning leadership. So the school board gives them a certain amount of power, and then the application of that, and then what comes from it. But if they're playing power games and I'm the most important person, I'm the powerful person, we're looking at where true power comes from. Does it come from being a dictator and demanding, or does it come from, let's say, a democracy, but the people don't have the power to actually enforce what they're doing? Let's say Joe Biden, it's frustrating for him to, let's say, stand, or the Democratic Party to stand on the principles, but then the Republican Party just gets them with a filibuster. You see, what we have is power games. We have like the battle between the power and the principles all the time. But the whole idea is to have a common goal where everybody is working together and sharing their talents and gifts. Everybody is working together to promote the democracy, to promote our country, to have our country be the best it can be. And our country has a history of a lot of failed policies and a lot of problems, and that have never been resolved. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to purify the U.S. legal system because these policies have created a sense of frustration and chaos in the legal system. So these ideas have to be purified before we can go on and create the international government. Otherwise, the same chaos will be established on the international level. So if you are looking for what you're going to do, who you're going to vote for, it's important to understand the idea of the three levels: the principles and the power and the project, and to resolve these ideas in your own thinking about what are these people doing. Are they grabbing for power? Where does true power come from? As I said earlier in this video, true power comes from they get their power. An elected official gets their power when they take their oath of office. The Constitution, a constitution or any founding document, for our organization has founding documents. Constitution is a founding document. It creates a government. Okay, so when it's there, the Constitution, as long as that stands, what it will do is our country will still stand, just like the flag still waving in the Star-Spangled Banner. It's still there. It's still functioning. So as long as we are all hoping, working together, planning, coming up with ideas, participating in this, and continuing on to as citizens of the United States, then what we will do is we will maintain our Constitution. So when an elected official takes the oath of office, that's when they assume power, the duties and the responsibilities and the privileges that they have, the rights that they have to wield that power. So this is what we're looking at, is the principles are established, but then the application of the principles, and then the third idea is a combination of these ideas, and those are like the project ideas. Are they standing on the principles of equality, liberty, freedom, compassion, abundance, capacity, and tolerance? Voting rights regulations, new legislation in any of the states that doesn't create a sense of equality, those are the ones that will create chaos in the system. Those are power grabs. So grabs for power always lead to a loss of power because they demonstrate that the people don't have any power. In a way, they compensate. Power grabs compensate for a lack of power. True power comes from assuming responsibility. If you are standing on the principles, and then the application of the principles will be in responsibility of other people. But then, so you see how this comes. If you are going to vote for anybody, who are you going to vote for? Do you want chaos in your legal system? Do you want a sense of frustration and anger towards the people because they're denied a voice? That's what leads to terrorism. Each one of those principles creates a sense of balance again in the country, in the world, so to speak, because we are all part of the same structure. If we have a problem someplace else in the world, it affects everybody. We're all connected. Okay, so the first requirement for conflict resolution is that everyone has to be considered equal. So for a fair trial, there has to be equality under the law. For one of our unalienable rights is to have a voice in our government. Intolerance leads to chaos. It leads to a sense of all the ripples of effects that go out. So, and when denied a voice, people have to raise their voice to be heard, oftentimes to the point of violence. So we're looking right now at how these principles create a sense of balance again. People who've been dragged into a war lack equality. People who have been dragged into a genocide lack their unalienable rights. So when I introduced the letter to the Supreme Court, it was based on universal law and the idea that there's always three levels of the universe, and those principles that universal law stands on creates a sense of balance again, allows everybody to move forward, which is where we want to be, isn't it? Everybody moving forward, creating the life we want without interference, because that is another one of our unalienable rights that are given to us by our Creator, not by the Constitution. The Supreme Court is, let's say, cannot supersede, any ruling cannot supersede universal law. The Supreme Court is based on the Constitution, looks at the constitutionality, but the Constitution cannot supersede universal law, where it creates chaos in the system. It creates chaos, and it creates these problems that we have in our legal system, the chaos, that keep getting more extreme as they continue on. So, the voting rights is not something that the Constitution, the Supreme Court can make a statement, but it's the application. It's like my boards, my organization's boards that decide whether it goes up, down, or straight ahead. But those questions, issues, like supporting voting rights, like the right to life issue, you can't interfere in another person's life, right to create their life. You cannot say that you have to have that baby if the person wants it. Now, I'm going to go into applications of that also is that if it's an unalienable right, then there is a spiritual idea that can solve that problem where the Constitution doesn't, where the application of it doesn't, where federal law or constitutional law can't stand up against it. That God already solved the problems, or God, the creator of us all, not the old man on the throne idea, but Lady Gaia and I am that I am, who are not the Old Testament idea of God, where they left out the female aspect of God, and the old man on the throne idea, there is no female idea. So when that happened, when they introduced, a long time ago, they left God out. Donald Trump talks about leaving Christmas out. Christmas was never left out. People have been celebrating Christmas forever. Okay, at least since Jesus came around, was born. Okay, so when that happened, when they left it, the New Testament now, the new idea is God is nurturing and God is creative. I am that I am, the male aspect of God is creative, and the female aspect of God, Lady Gaia, is nurturing. So when you are getting revenge and they say vengeance is mine, it's because when you're getting revenge, you're outside, let's say, that's Old Testament thinking, and Old Testament thinking basically was addressing the idea of revenge and vengeance. And then what they did was an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But at that point in time, they were outside of God. They were facing the backlashes, and they were not able to create their life, and they were not able to walk forward. They were dying. Jesus came to overcome death. That's why it happened. Revenge doesn't work anymore. It's not a tool that people can use to create their life. Okay, so in other words, that is down into the power games. All right, so that's all I wanted to talk about today, is why let's say we've had the Old Testament, We've had the time of Jesus now, where people were learning where power comes from and getting used to that idea. And now we're coming into the idea that God is nurturing and God is love and God is creativity. So the unalienable rights, there's always a solution that God provides for, like abortion, and that is women can just decide to let it go. If they get pregnant and they don't want it, you can't interfere with my life. This baby can't interfere with my life. Whoosh. All right, they'll just have a miscarriage. So there is no need for people to stand up to say right to life. In fact, what's kind of odd is that right to life can be used on both sides of the equation here. Right, I have the right, the women have the right to create their life, and the people are standing up for the baby that actually doesn't have any legal rights under the Constitution. And okay, so rather than to get into that, I just wanted you to know that all these issues can be overturned if they try to supersede universal law. Don't worry about it. We're going to purify the legal system. The first purification idea is where true power comes from and where disputes are resolved. We're going to set up a court system, an international court system that works better than the one that we have now, which is not working at all. Okay, so, and it's all the international government's legal system will be based on universal law, and then what'll happen is that it will, the international courts will be an application of that, but also the legislation that comes about will be based on these two ideas. So that'll give everybody our inalienable rights. Okay, that's all I wanted to talk about today. So thank you for stopping by, and I hope if you're a student of the Faith of the Puree, I hope that you are working your way through your plan, your creativity, and I'll talk about creativity in my next video, so that you can see basically the three principles, basically the three stages of the planning process, so you can understand that. All right? So I'll talk to you later. See you later. Thanks for stopping by. I ask that you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.